Hey everybody, thanks for watching the Commander's Brew right here on YouTube. If you guys are loving the show, go ahead, hit subscribe, or go over to our Patreon page, patreon.com/commandersbrew, and help make the show. And check out our comedy videos and things like that as well. But without further ado, let's get to this week's brand new deck tech. Sean, what are we dealing with?
A brand new commander from Ravica Allegiance, Teysa Karlov. We learned her last name.
Yes, we did. We found out Karlov is, in fact, the last name of Teysa's family and not just the first name of her dead old grandfather. Yes. But this is a very cool, just like a... This is what you want in a commander. This is exactly what I look for when they're making these new legendaries. And I gotta say, kudos to Wizards for making this one. Teysa's doubling up dying triggers, which is really cool. So it's like a panharmonicon for dying. And then on top of that, she's also going to be giving vigilance and lifelink to tokens, which is great. She's costed really low. She's only 4 mana. Like, this is great. I just got to say, I love this. I love this commander, and I'm stoked to see the rest of them that are coming out.
Oh man, I can't wait. So obviously we want things to die to take advantage of those death triggers, and we want tokens to take advantage of vigilance and lifelink. So we'll cover a couple of categories of those, and then we'll give you some neat moves for it. So starting off with some sack outlet, Andy, why don't you lead us off?
Yeah, so right away, I wanted to highlight just a couple of the lesser-known sack outlets that we're going to be running in this deck. First of all, we got Flesh Eater Imp, which is a little 2/2 flyer that gets infect, and you can pump him by sacrificing creatures. So him alone can be a pretty serious win condition in this deck with all the tokens that are going to be running around. We've got Yahenni, Undying Partisan, in there as well, which, of course, the death triggers from your opponent's creatures will trigger twice for Yahenni, making the Aetherborn Vampire double the counters that it will receive. Also, being able to make himself indestructible is pretty sweet for Yahenni. And then we also have Hidden Stockpile, which is the enchantment from Aether Revolt that is going to be able to let us dig into our deck a little bit by scrying, and is also just a nice, pretty easy sack outlet, although not free, but it's still pretty helpful.
Yeah, that the servo token will have lifelink and vigilance, so it's not nothing.
Exactly.
And then just a couple other ways we're going to take advantage of tokens is with Twilight Driver. So whenever any creature token leaves the battlefield, which is interesting, usually we prefer when cards say leaves the battlefield because sometimes things get exiled. Yeah. But in this case, unfortunately, Twilight Driver does not notice deaths, so this will not trigger twice with Teysa. Yeah. However, as it gets +1/+1 encounters at the normal speed, we can pay 2 and a white, and we'll get double those back. So in a way, we're sort of doubling them, but this is a great way to get a lot of spirit creature tokens onto the battlefield. 1/1 flying vigilance lifelinkers ain't too bad.
Yeah.
And then, of course, original Teysa, whenever a black creature dies, you get a spirit, and now we get 2 spirits for that. And then we can sacrifice 3 of them and remove any creature from the game. We can exile any creature. So when we're putting out double spirit tokens because of other death triggers that Teysa does, we're going to be able to get rid of a lot of nasty things. Is there something crucial blocking that Flesh Eater Imp? Not anymore.
Yeah, and I just love how it's not black non-token creatures, right?
Yes.
So whenever a black creature period that we control is put in the graveyard, she's going to trigger. So love it. Old Teysa, unsurprisingly, works very well with new Teysa. So yeah, the other old Teysa does too, I think. Anyways, so yeah, now it's time for some neat moves.
Working on a neat move.
So these neat moves are kind of all they're kind of not combo-y necessarily, but they're just a collection of just cards that just work so well together. The first being, of course, our commander, which is kind of the base for the soup of these neat moves, and then we're just going to add some spice with a little anointed procession. Obviously, doubling up the tokens we're going to receive just makes everything that much better. And considering Teysa already is kind of like a little bit of a Anointed Procession for all the death triggers that are going to be creating tokens, Anointed Procession is even crazier because of that. So you're kind of getting double the effect for a lot of these triggers.
Oh, we love doubling. Imagine you doubled Black Market, for example.
Ooh, yep.
Anytime a creature dies, we get 2 charge counters on it. So now we're getting double the mana to cast things, which will have double effects. It's just like another way of layering on the doubling.
Yeah.
Archon of Justice, same deal. Whenever this fella dies, we get to exile 2 permanents. And let's talk about Kokusho. Getting rid of Kokusho by sacrifice, making all of our opponents lose 10 life, and we gain 30 life in a 4-player game. That's nuts.
Yeah, these are just 3 of the most powerful effects in the deck, kind of. Being able to exile permanents, being able to create so much mana, and being able to just make your opponents lose 10 life, and you gain life equal to the life lost this way. So that's potentially you gaining something like 30 life if Kokusho dies. Like, it's nonsense. Definitely one of the main win cons in this deck. Is the Evening Star here. But if you want to talk a little bit more about like some kind of combo-y style neat moves, take a look at this collection here. We've got Golgari Thug starting things off, which is it's got Dredge 4 on it, and it's going to be able to put something from your graveyard on top of your library. If you sack the Golgari Thug with one of the sack outlets, like say like a Viscera Seer or something else that's free, Flesh Eater Imp or whatever, and then you also have a Grim Haruspex or something else with a similar trigger where when something dies you draw a card, you'll be able to put the Golgari Thug in your graveyard and then trade it for another creature in your graveyard to the top of your library and then to your hand, because you'll be drawing the card from Grim Haruspex. This is also a way to get Dredge rolling, because the Golgari Thug itself can be dredging things once it's in the graveyard. Like, this is just a kind of a little bit of an engine here that Teysa is going to be able to help by making these things happen twice. I guess the Grim Haruspex would be the thing that happens twice. But yeah, it's this can be the heart of the deck. This is what you want to be doing middle of the game, get things rolling, and then finish it off with a big Kokusho.
I guess having double Grim Haruspex means you can put a creature on top with the Thug and then use that second draw to dredge and get the Thug back in your hand.
Or dredge it first and then? Can you do that?
Well, then it won't be on the top anymore for the draw.
If you dredge... Yeah, well, that's what I meant. So what you said was right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
great. Another neat move. Let's take a look at A Darker Valkyrie, which, Andy, you pointed out something interesting, that it's been in a couple of precons already, but I've never really used it. It's also been in Modern Masters, so like I've never used this card yet, never seen it used, but being able to give another creature like Flicker Upon Death is pretty amazing when we consider something like Hallowed Spirit Keeper. I bet you when this thing comes back to life, it's probably going to be bigger than it was the last time we cast it. And
we'll create more spirits, you mean, but yes.
Yeah, it's going to create more spirits, but like it's going to... These are double spirits because of what Teysa does. Alinda the Duskgrows, same deal. Only Alinda's also getting double +1/+1s because of the death trigger, and double the vampire tokens with lifelink. This deck gains a lot of life.
It does gain a lot of life, and as you know, as a matter of fact, we do have things that care about that life gain in here as well. It's just not the main focus of the deck, but there's definitely some cards that are going to help that along as well. And then we got a lot of these tokens coming out. It's a lot of spirits. We might as well toss a Divine Visitation in there. Let's turn those spirits into Sarah Angels. You know what I mean? Why not?
Yeah. Why not?
Why not? And then I guess let's just mention that in these types of decks, usually you don't want to be exiling your own creatures. Obviously, you want to be you want these guys to be sitting in the graveyard for your Hallowed Spirit Keepers and your Golgari Thugs and whatnot. But because we have so many sack outlets in this deck, it's actually, I think it's quite all right to be running the board wipes that do mass exile. So Merciless Eviction, Descend Upon the Sinful, because you can actually just sack all your things in response usually, or just before you decide to cast the spell, and then everyone else's stuff gets exiled and all your stuff gets kind of destroyed as normal. So you're getting the benefit while you're not losing those creatures. They're sitting in your graveyard, which is exactly where you want them.
Yeah, amazing.
Great.
Any surprising discoveries for the deck?
I think that these two cards, which I've seen before, but have never really seen the full effect, which is one of them being Flesh Carver, which I think works perfectly with this Teysa deck because it is a sack outlet that can get bigger. I mean, you have to pay for it, so it's not perfect, but you're getting +1/+1 counters on it. But when it dies, it creates an XX Black Horror creature token, which Teysa will make vigilant and will give it lifelink, and you're going to get 2 of them actually. So Flesh Carver is actually quite a nice fit with the new Teysa.
Oh, man. And another one in similar fashion is Vindictive Lich. So being able to get a double death trigger there, we can either double the same one on a person. And I believe because each Vindictive Lich is doing its own set of things, it just can't pile up with itself. But we can overlap them among 2 separate Vindictive Liches.
Yeah, the Vindictive Lich triggers for sure double up. And just as a kind of an addendum onto this, we have a Stronic Resonator in this deck. So, you know, especially with something like Vindictive Lich, you can just make everyone get one of each for everyone. Double from the Teysa and add another one with Stronic Resonator, and everyone has a laugh.
No one has to be jealous.
That's right. Yeah, budget report time here. This deck came out to $112, and half the value is in about 8 of the cards. Starting with Elenda, which is right up to $15 right now. Then we've got Phyrexian Arena coming in at $8, which honestly, there's enough of both of these effects in the deck, whether it be card draw or token creation, that if you wanted to save some money, this is a good spot to do it. And Anointed Procession, which is a pretty irreplaceable effect, I would try to keep, and it's also at $8.
Yeah, cut those. You can save a cool $20 plus right there.
Yeah.
Andy, what's your favorite card of the deck?
This one, we've talked about a lot of them already, but this one is a bit of an underdog. Maw of the Obsidat. It's a card that you don't see too often, but it's a sack outlet for free that will give your creatures +1/+1 until end of turn. It's an Anthem with a sack outlet. It's perfect for this deck. It's Obsidat themed. It's Orzhov. It's Ravnica. It's perfect. What about yours?
Yeah, I want to talk about Ogre Slumlord.
Ooh.
Ogre Slumlord, whenever a non-token creature dies on anyone's board, not just ours, that's a death trigger that we control. So Teysa's going to give us 2 rats. All these rat tokens will have lifelink and vigilance, which is amazing. Like, vigilance death touchers are the best. And I just want to point out how well this works with old Teysa, because we're getting double black creature tokens, they're dying, and we're getting double white spirit creatures, and we're sacking 3 of those spirits at a time to exile whatever we want. It's just your opponents can't win. Like that's an awful scenario for your opponents to be in. Therefore, a great scenario for us.
That is great. See, I knew that there's even more combos to find with this commander and this like set of cards even that we've put together here. Go check out. Oh my god. Yeah, right. Go check out the deck list. It's on Tapped Out. This is a man. Whenever you get these kind of aristocratic type of decks going, they're a lot of fun.
Yeah, and like this is brand new, right? Like, I'm sure there's a few little combos we haven't discovered yet. So if you've got a favorite one you're excited to put in there, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, and if there's something you think maybe we missed, let us know as well. I know, like, I don't like to run, this might be a little controversial, but like I personally don't like to run a lot of the like, if we sacrifice a creature, all of our opponents have to sack a creature too.
Your grave pacts.
Yeah, I'm really cooling off on those cards these days. I think they're just like, they can be like overly oppressive and not create fun board states. I mean, you know, if your meta can deal with it, that's fine. That's great. But yeah, I don't know. I lean away from those these days. Instead, like we'll get some other things. Although those cards are very good with Teysa also. Like, if you're not afraid of creating those board states, they're also quite good. Anyways, be as evil as you want, though. You do you. Do what makes you happy. It's a good time. But thanks for watching, everyone, for this week. Next week, we'll be back with a big set review. So come back and see what we thought of Ravica Allegiances. We'll see you guys then.
Bye.
Bye.
Big thanks to all our patrons who make these episodes possible.
Yeah, and if you want to check out more comedy videos, check out our Brews News playlist.
Make sure you follow us on Twitch TV to see when we play live.
If you want to chat with us, head over to Twitter. We're at Commanders Brew.
And please hit subscribe to ding the bell and find out when we got new stuff coming out.
See you next time.
Bye.